You're listening to the Meaningful Minutes with Nikki Olson podcast. This is a show for busy Latter-day Saint women who want to learn simple tools to feel confident and inspired in 10 minutes or less. Welcome. On this episode, we will discuss when you feel uncertain in prayer. All right, uncertainty has been something that after I learned about was really mind-blowing for me. It has completely changed my perspective on situations and actually brought me peace and strength during uncertain times. Now, uncertainty in prayer is an interesting thing because we usually approach God in prayer with something we're uncertain about, right? Hoping to come out of that prayer with a certain answer. And what I've noticed happens with women that I work with is that when they don't receive a certain answer after prayer, they assume a few things. One, they did something wrong to not receive the answer. Or two, God must not love them enough to give them an answer. Or three, they just need to try harder or do more. Then I notice that they start beating themselves up and doing more and overwhelming themselves, or they stop talking to God because they aren't getting any certainty in their prayers. But I want to introduce you to a mind-blowing alternative. What if uncertainty in prayer is part of the plan? What if uncertainty has to be there? When I heard this, I was like, wait, what? I thought we were supposed to be able to ask in prayer for something and receive a definite answer. Now, you might be thinking, I know I've prayed before and felt certain about what I needed to do. And I would say, yes, you're correct, but there is still some form of uncertainty in that too. So I want to explain. Now, I learned this concept from Melinda Wheelwright Brown when I interviewed her this year for the podcast. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, click the link in my show notes and check that out after this one. You're done listening. But she also talks about this concept in her amazing book, Eve and Adam, Discovering the Beautiful Balance. And I'm going to use her words to introduce you to this concept first. She introduces the concept of uncertainty using Eve as an example and how Satan played a role in that uncertainty. So here's an excerpt from her book. She said, in spite of Satan's deception, we know his opposition was necessary. Though his primary objective is to tempt and try each member of the human family, his earliest encounters, even with Eve, Adam, oh man, let me get this right. His earliest encounters with Eve and Adam were singular because of their innocence and significant because of their agency. Since God will not exert any compulsory means and Satan cannot, sometimes the most the adversary can do in his attempt to cause trouble and derail plans is to introduce uncertainty. Uncertainty in circumstances allows us to truly, really, and fully choose for ourselves because those questioning moments, we are unsure of what the right choice is. We are uncertain of precisely what God would have us do. In my estimation, such was the case in the serpent's interaction with Eve. Without Satan's opposition, his introduction of uncertainty among alternatives, causing her to sincerely question and consider her choice, would not happen completely on her own. I believe Eve needed to feel at least slightly unsure of what she was supposed to do because certainty would have dismissed her agency. The uncertainty introduced by the serpent appears to have caused some sort of pondering and reflection. This was a pivotal point, perhaps the first opportunity for Eve to powerfully demonstrate her ability to reason. I love that line. Certainty would have diminished her agency. So uncertainty is needed for us to have agency. Think about it. If we are certain about all of it, then there's in something like if we're certain about something, there's no longer faith involved in that, right? The whole reason we're here on this earth without God is to choose for ourselves whether we want to return to live with Him. Being without God and not knowing for sure what God would have us do makes us use faith to make decisions. We must reason in our minds, then move forward with our best knowledge. All right, I had to interrupt these meaningful minutes for a quick reminder. The holidays are coming. Yep, they are fast approaching, and there are a few gifts that usually you're scrambling to think of ideas for last minute. And that's your friends, your neighbors, and your ministering sisters. Not this year. I got you covered. The Meaningful Prayer Journals are a powerful yet inexpensive gift that helps your gift receiver build a stronger relationship with God through prayer so they can feel Christ's enabling power, see the hand of God in their life, and prioritize their day through the Spirit. And this is also a fabulous gift for Relief Society presidencies to give out to their ward sisters. When you purchase in bulk for your Relief Society sisters, I offer you a 25% discount off your whole order. And this year, I'm even adding in a free virtual fireside called 5 Ways to Hear Him More in Your Life to be scheduled anytime in the next 6 months. So click the link in my show notes and order yours today. Even when the Spirit confirms to you that you're moving in the right direction or to make a certain decision, there's still an element of uncertainty. Just because you get a confirmation on what to do doesn't mean that opposition doesn't get in your way of carrying out that decision. Think about it. The opposition that Satan created for Eve and how that helped her use her reasoning to choose the best option in spite of what she was told. So uncertainty in prayer is necessary for each of us to move forward with faith. When you take uncertainty out of the equation, you also take faith out of the equation. You must move forward with some form of uncertainty, otherwise you would not be using faith or your agency. So what do you do when you feel uncertain? Well, you act on the best revelation you've been given and you see how God directs you. God knows you're working in uncertain circumstances and is not going to let you stray very far if you're willing to come back time and time again asking for help and moving forward with uncertainty. That is how faith becomes stronger and your relationship with God is built. Continued acting on uncertainty with the answers you get in prayer is how you build faith. Now, one of the ways that I make sure that I come back to God time and time again in uncertainty is using my Seeking Personal Revelation journal. This allows me to see these results firsthand, reason and ponder so that I can use my agency and faith in the way it was intended. So, click the link in my show notes, grab your Revelation journal, and get started today. All right, I'll see you next week. I hope these minutes you spent with me were meaningful, helped you feel inspired, and more confident. If you liked today's episode, check out the show notes for links to other episodes you might like too. And while you're there, in my show notes, look for the links to my website, social media, and free handouts for remembering how to implement the skills. Thank you for listening to the Meaningful Minutes podcast with Nikki Olson.